On the Wado Radio Show.
Of course, man, it's DJ Wado. It's the Wado Radio Show. It's more than music. It's ministry. And, man, we got a veteran in the game with us on the line, man. Urban D, pastor. He's the founder of so much different stuff. Soul Mag, Crossover Church, Flavor Fest, 20 years at Crossover. He was just telling me, man, and we're happy to have him, man. He's got a new book, new album, Rebuild, that's out right now, man. Pastor Tommy, how are you doing, sir?
What's good, man? I'm doing well, bro. Down here in Florida, staying warm. Know a lot of the rest of the country's cold right now, but we doing okay down here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I want to send some of this New Jersey breeze down there to you, man, because I know you miss it, man.
Nah, man, I'm good. I came up and visited Philly last month. I'm okay, man. I got a little taste.
You got a little yeah, but see, when you were up here, it wasn't really that cold, man.
Yeah, honestly, man, it wasn't so bad. It was like in the 30s, 40s at night. We even had a couple 50s in the day, so it wasn't true winter. Didn't see any snow or anything.
Yeah. So, man, let me ask you this, man. Let me start here, man. You got this new book, new album, Rebuild, that you dropped at Flavor Fest this past year, man. And as someone who has been a part of this scene for a really long time, and obviously you've built a significant ministry, helped build a significant ministry there in Tampa that's not just impacted that community, but leaders and pastors and, you know what I'm saying, just people around the country and around the world. It's interesting that you have a book called Rebuild, bro. What was the whole concept and purpose behind that, man?
Yeah, well, really, man, the last couple of years I've been reading the book of Nehemiah. And you know how you read certain scriptures at certain seasons of your life, and they jump out bigger,
sure,
you know, in certain seasons. And so for this season, man, Nehemiah, and just really diving in and how he rebuilt the city as we had just moved into this new facility, Crossover Church, rebuilt an abandoned Toys R Us store in the heart of the inner city. So it's this 43,000 square foot building that was just an empty shell. And so we had to come in and totally, rebuild it, do all the infrastructure, electrical, lights, air conditioning, all that stuff. And so it was a huge, huge project to undertake for, a young urban church like ourselves that doesn't have, a ton of resources. But, man, so the book talks about that, the miracle story of how all that happened over the course of it. It took a couple of years to get everything lined up, and God was rebuilding some stuff in us during that time. Then at the same time, the biblical thread of Nehemiah is weaved throughout the book, and there's just a lot of challenges and inspirational, moments for the reader to rebuild their life, because we're all broken. We see brokenness all around us, and the gospel is the thing that can rebuild us. And then when we get rebuilt, it's not just for us, but it's for other people that are around us to help them in their rebuilding journey as well. So it's been something that's been brewing in me for a while. I came up with the idea probably about 4 years ago for the book and started writing it. And then there was just a lot of stops. Like God just didn't give me any more, or just had me busy doing other things. And I completed the book about a year ago. Shortly before that, I got signed with a publisher. And then the goal was to get it to come out by Flavor Fest, which we made it by the skin of our teeth. So...
Hey, man, it always happens like that, bro.
It does, man. Like, I was on a serious deadline. When I signed the publishing deal in December of 2014, I had, like, a little bit more than half of the book done. And they said, well, in order for it to come out at Flavor Fest in the fall of 2015, it had to be turned in, like, 3 weeks ago.
Wow.
But maybe we can give you an extension a little bit, because that would be a great launch for it. So they hit me back the next day and said, well, we can give you till January 30th. You think you could get it done? And I was like, I'll get it done. So, man, last January, I was like locked in the room, bro, just writing. And with God's help, man, yeah, I completed it. I mean, I already had the outline and the template, the map, sure, where I was going. I just had to fill in all the blanks. But, when you have a busy schedule, it's hard to carve out that time sometimes. So I had to be really disciplined last January. But, man, with God's help, got it done. and it was great working with InterVarsity Press.
So here's a question for you, bro. What comes harder for you? Writing books or writing raps? Like, if you had that same deadline for music,
yeah,
what would have been the biggest challenge?
That's a great question. That's a great question, man. I've said this many times with different people. For me, at least, writing a book is so much harder. And here's the thing about it, Wado, is, when you record a new track, like, you get your boys around, you pop it in the car, or, pop it on your computer, and or maybe even on your phone. You gather some people around, check out the new song, and everybody's able to sit there and listen to it with you, and you're able to watch their reactions, and just the whole vibe, because the song's 3.5, 4 minutes long, right?
Yeah.
But when you finish a chapter, which takes you a long time to finish that chapter, and because I've experienced this, I'm like, yo, man, I want to send you a chapter to see what you think about it. So I'll email it out to a couple friends, and I hit them up like a week later. Yo, what'd you think of it? I didn't get a chance to look at it yet, man. I'm gonna look at it. You know what I mean? And it's like, and so it's hard to get feedback as well. But just for me, the process of writing it takes a lot longer because, the book was 45,000 words, where an album is a whole lot less words. I guess I never typed out how many words an album is, but, it's probably less than 5,000 words versus 45,000.
Wow.
So, it's definitely, for me, a book is a lot more. And with this book, I actually did an album at the same time with the same title. And so the book has 10 chapters, and the album has 10 songs, which have the same titles as the chapter. And I wrote the book first. So after that, I pulled content out of, each chapter and wrote my verses on the album out of that. So it's really kind of a unique project. So it's kind of like the album is the soundtrack of the book. So if you listen to the album and you get familiar with the songs, then you read the book, you're able to read those stories and punchlines in more of a, detailed manner.
That's good, man. What do you foresee yourself potentially doing this going forward with more projects like this soundtrack book? Companion?
I kind of, I'm definitely going to do more writing, more books, but I think for the next one, it might just be like a song. I don't know if it's going to be a full album. I've told people, like, this is my last full album. People are like, you going to pull a Jay-Z? You going to come back? I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to do music and use it as a tool.
Sure.
But, I don't know if I'm going to have the time capacity to continue to do full albums. But honestly, this album was really pretty easy for me to get done. I got it done in a relatively short period of time because I was taking content from the book. And then the guy who did the majority of the production was our worship director at the church. And he's just a phenomenal producer. His name's Cliff Brown. He even has a Grammy from the track he did with Mary J. Blige. And he's produced for a lot of secular hip-hop artists over the years, from Rick Ross to G-Unit and Dipset and a bunch of people. He stepped away from all that back around 2009. He's part of a production company called the Justice League, and the Justice League, and they were based out of Tampa. So he was great. He's great to work with. So
it's good, man. This is your third book, right?
It is, man. It's my third book.
Unorthodox, next,
and
yeah.
So this is the third one. Second one to be published. The next book, which I think I gave you a copy of when we saw each other last time, that was a self-published project that we did, just really based out of the church. It was out of a need for, like, what do we give to new believers in the urban context when they start a relationship with Christ? We couldn't really find a good resource to give them. Giving them a full Bible is not a bad thing, but sometimes it can be overwhelming because a lot of cats in the urban context have never even finished a full book before. So you give them a big fat Bible without any direction of where to start, it can be a little overwhelming. So the next book is just a short, like 100-page book. It's really only about 50 pages of content, and it's a small size. and then the second half of it is the Gospel of John.
Yeah, that's good, bro. That's good. What's going on with Crossover Church these days, brother? Because I know the and I asked this because the rebuild was kind of, covering that period of time of when you guys were kind of going into the church. You know what I'm saying? This new location and building that and that whole piece. And it's like now it's like that situation is like, really established, man. And I know you guys do like a ton of missions work and everything like that, but what's kind of the next phase that you see for your church at this point?
Yeah. So we've been in this rebuilt Toys R Us store now. We just celebrated 5 years a couple of months ago. And, we've reached thousands of people with the gospel. We've baptized 924 people in the past 5 years. So there's been just tons of great stuff happening, making disciples, starting new ministries, a lot of things happening, very active here in our community, here in our city, doing a lot of outreach stuff. So the next phase is we continue to, get more and more solid here at the church, and we continue to grow. And we have a Bible college here now. We're raising up, more and more leaders and church planters. The next season is going to be, planting some churches. And so we got a guy right now that we're going to help him plant a church in Atlanta, and that'll be next year in 2017. And a couple other guys that are coming up after him that are a little younger, and some of them are actually going to probably eventually come on staff with us as the church continues to grow. And so we're going to plant some churches, and we're also going to plant some other campuses as well. So, like in the Tampa Bay area.
Wow.
So we're in the city of Tampa, but we're going to open up another location in Pinellas County, which is across the bridge, because we do have a lot of people that come from Pinellas County, but it's a good 30 to 45-minute drive. And then if there's traffic, it could easily be over an hour. So we've actually lost a lot of families over the last couple of years because of the drive. They love the church, and they're like, man, when you get that Pinellas campus open, we're going to be part of it. But so that's kind of on our radar, man, to open up some other campuses. And a lot of churches are doing that. So as we grow, we have a pretty large facility. We can seat, over 700 people, and we do 3 services. But our goal is not to be like, oh, let's get a bigger building. We don't want to get a bigger building. We want to get different locations and then send maybe a couple hundred people out to help launch that location and reach that community, and then do another one and just, continually keep, multiplying what we do.
Yeah, I was going to say, man, you guys certainly have, I think, too, like the definitely the technological expertise to do it and do it like really well. But secondly, I think with the way, and a lot of people don't know this about you, just, people that are just like regular fans of the music or whatever. But man, the way you train up leaders, like you've helped train a lot of pastors through your coaching network. I think, man, if anybody could really do it well and effectively, and not just, because some churches do it like almost as a money grab. You know what I'm saying? To really keep that ministry pure. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think you guys could really could smash with that, bro.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, man. Keep us in prayer with it. It's definitely a lot of work. We're trying to, do that and keep everything else going with a limited staff and limited budget. So,
how do you guys get past the limited budget, bro? Because I think what you guys are able to achieve at your size, the size of your church, but from a ministry standpoint, an urban ministry standpoint, with that limited budget, man, how do you work around that? Because that's a challenge that a lot of urban churches have, and sometimes they allow themselves to get stuck in it.
Yeah, I think it all doing
and get the
okay.
If
you want to mention at some point, if you bring it back to the book about the resources, I definitely want to mention that, because that's kind of a unique piece with the resources that are coming out.
Absolutely.
But go ahead. Which questions?
So I'll make sure we get there. So, um, one of the things that I've noticed about you guys is you guys are able to achieve a great deal for a church your size. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys have been able
Mm-hmm.
to kind of accomplish a lot for a church your size, man. How do you get past the resource issue that I think, and many times can kind of prohibit, or it even, I don't know if the right word is sidetrack, but it can prevent people from moving forward because
Yeah.
they feel like, man, we just don't have the resources to do this.
Yeah. If anybody's out there and you're involved in urban ministries, you feel the pain.
Right.
There's more needs and less resources. So I think you really got to approach it, Wado, like you got to be an entrepreneur. And, I grew up in an urban, lower income environment, and so I had to start working and doing different odd jobs and hustling even since I was a young kid, which put a work ethic in me. They kind of gave me this entrepreneurial spirit. And so we really kind of approached, things with the ministry like that, to be creative with funding. And I think a lot of it is how much you value excellence and how much you value you value doing things well, and how much you value vision. And so we don't want to do things like half-hearted. We don't want to do it in a way that's so fabulous. We want it to be well, for people to come in and say, wow, like these guys are killing it, because we're doing it for Christ. So we shouldn't, sometimes it's just, it's just church, or it's just, no. Like, we should be doing it even better than the world is doing it. We should be, setting the bar, setting the standard. We should be creating trends. But I think some of that is developed through relationships. So, even for us, like, we print a lot of stuff that looks really good. And you mentioned Soul Mag a little earlier in the interview. We publish a magazine, which stands for Speaking on Urban Life, covers Christian hip-hop. It's an urban lifestyle magazine, has a lot of ministry stuff in it. And we've published 26 issues. And publishing a magazine that's 100 pages thick, and we print 5,000 plus copies, that's expensive, And so, the advertising budget, there's only so many people that are going to spend money on advertising.
Right.
So what we've done, man, the last 5 issues, is God opened up this door for us to have a relationship with a new printing guy. And this guy's a well-to-do Christian businessman in the area. Found out about what we were doing. We connected. And he actually has his own trucking company. And he goes to the paper mill, picks up the paper, and then he sells it directly to all the printing houses in the Southeast. So this guy was like, listen, I get the paper from the mill for cost, and then I can bid this job out to a printer for the cheapest price, and I'm going to do that for you, and I'm not even going to take a penny. So now, like, we cut our price of what we're paying for printing in half, and then we were able to print even more copies. And then on top of that, I think you saw one of the latest issues.
It's better quality.
It's better quality, and it's bigger. It's a bigger size. It actually gained an inch on each side, so it really, like, pops out. And so, I mean, it's relationships many times. We have another printer that does all of our stuff during the week, like our bulletins and cards and flyers. Then we just have a lot of people in the church that are gifted and talented in different areas, and we've given them a platform. We've discipled them. So we have a lot of people that volunteer, or people that will, we contract out to do things for a much lower price than normal. They have some corporate customers that they charge a lot more, but for us, hey, this is, partially some of my donation, because I believe in what y'all do. Then on top of that, I think the entrepreneur side, man, find other streams of income. So we have a hip-hop shop in our lobby where we sell, Christian apparel, books, Bibles, CDs, and we sell them for a really cheap price, but we're still able to get some profit out of that. And we use that money for outreach and a lot of different things that we wouldn't afford to be able to do. We have some vending machines. All those different things create literally thousands of dollars that go into the budget for us to do outreach stuff. Our building, we also have a big kids wing. We have hundreds of children that go in our kids wing every Sunday and get taught about Jesus. But we said, man, we want kids learning about Jesus more than one day a week in this beautiful wing that we built with all these classrooms and this big kids church room. So we opened a preschool last year, And now we have over 80 children in the preschool, and it's just a win-win on so many fronts. It's created jobs, it's great outreach, kids are learning about Jesus, and it creates another stream of revenue for the church, which helps take some weight off of the budget so we can do things, in better excellence. So, be creative. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It's hard. You got to research, talk to other people, talk to people with best practices, but don't short yourself and think that you can't do things in excellence, because you can. There's a way. You just have to work hard and figure it out. And we even have like 4 people on staff that are provided to be on staff through a grant.
Wow.
And so we have some grants that provide some funding as well. They work with families in crisis here, in our church and in our neighborhood. And so it's just, that stuff doesn't happen overnight. It takes years of building reputation, building, relationships. And, it's Matthew 25. As you're faced with little, God will bless you with more.
It's good. It's good. How do you recognize when people, whether it's in your congregation, your church, or, just in general, are ready for a leadership position, man?
Man, that's a great question, because everyone's not called to be a leader. I mean, we're all called to lead some things, like lead our family or, whatever that might look like. We're all called to lead in some way, but we're not all called to lead teams of people. That might just not be in our skill set. So, we try to really get to know people, get to know their chemistry, see what their chemistry is with other people, and give them some opportunities to do some things, and then, see kind of how they do with it. One of the big things our church does now as well, besides just, training up people in different ministries to serve and then kind of watching them and they apprentice alongside someone else. One of the other things we do is we do this thing called Strength Finders. It's a book called Strength Finders 2.0, and we have them take this test. It's an online-based test. It takes about a half an hour, and it identifies what their top 5 strengths are.
Wow.
And so we've had almost 100 people that are volunteers in the past, 4 months, have gone through this test. We just recently started doing this. We've always done it with our leaders and our staff, but we just started doing it with all of our volunteers. And a friend of mine is a Strength Finders coach. So then he came in for 2 hours and did this workshop seminar with, we did it 2 different times with about 40 volunteers each time. And man, it was amazing for us to be able to look at the results from that. And we really discovered, man, there's a few people here that we really need to move into some roles of leadership. Look at their strengths. Then there were some other people that we saw, man, they're in some positions right now, or they're maybe even serving in a position that isn't really their strength. They would really do a lot better in this area over here. So let's move them over here. We've even moved some of our staff into different seats on the bus because we want people to work in their strengths.
Yeah. That's good, bro. That's good. Back to this rebuild book, man. I think that's a model a lot of churches could use, bro, because sometimes you could be on the right bus but in the wrong seat. And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's
true.
That's not a good thing. But man, just speaking of resources and things other churches could use, I know you have some resources associated with this rebuild book that people can kind of get a hold of, bro.
Yeah, definitely. So, created the book, created the album, and we said, man, but I want to do even more to resource churches. So our church actually in February and March is going to do a 5-week series on the book. And so the weekend messages, like actual transcript of the sermon, and then the outline, because people can take notes and fill in the blanks on different points during those messages. We're going to make those available for free on my website, urband.org, where, pastors can go in there, church leaders can go in there and say, hey, man, I want to look at that series. We want to teach that series at our church, and you can see how we did it and what it looked like. And then, you obviously take it and make it your own, but you have the outline, and it's based off of the book. So then, you can encourage people in the church to go through the book as well. And then, so then the other side of it is we've created 5 weeks to go along with the 5-week series, 5 weeks of small group Bible study curriculum. so we created 5 videos. They're about 20 minutes each, 20 minutes long. And there's a downloadable sheet. You can download the workbook. And so you fill in the blanks and, study along with it and read some scripture during that 20-minute video. And then there's a discussion guide called Building Blocks. And there's several questions and some more scripture to read with your small group. And it takes a different angle than what's in the book, and it takes a different angle than what's being preached on the weekend. So it's all continuing. It's taking a little step deeper from what, was taught on Sunday. So it creates great synergy, man, when you have your church going through something like that together. We've done this several times with different authors' books, different Christian books, where on the weekends we're teaching it. During the week, people are reading the book in their own time, and then they're also studying in a small group about the same topic and reading scripture about it, and they're asking each other questions or sharing what God is doing in their life, new things that they're learning. And it really is always a great win for our church. We try to do that every February, March, towards the beginning of the year. And so, so all that stuff we're going to release on my website for free, because normally we have to buy all that stuff when we do it at our church from other people. But we're like, man, we just want to create these resources and give them away. So if you're interested in that, or even if you just want to do the book with your small group and watch the videos, you can do that with 4 or 5 people, 10 people, whatever, at your crib or at your job. urband.org is going to have all the information up by the end of January. I mean, you can get the book now, but all that stuff is going to be coming up. We're finishing all the details of it, so it'll be released very soon.
Man, that's noble, bro. Because you could probably sell that for a lot of money, bro.
Yeah, you could, and other people do that. I just didn't feel like for this project, like, man, we just want to give it away and just serve people, help people. We do Flavor Fest every year. We help a bunch of leaders.
Yeah.
So we kind of feel like this is just another step in that. One of the mission of our church, part of our mission statement, our purpose statement, and our bylaws of our church is not only to reach this community, but also to resource other urban, multi-ethnic churches with content. And so this goes right along with our church's, purpose statement. We want to continue to be about that.
Yeah, you man, listen, I don't want to totally change the subject, but we're just thinking about when you mentioned Flavor Fest and a part of the conversation we were having earlier, man, and I would love to get your thoughts on Christian hip hop right now. You even said something to me before we got on the air that I thought was significant, that I think people need to hear, just around the many opportunities and doors that have been open because of what folks like Lecrae and Andy and others have done to open those doors, man. But just your general thoughts on Christian rap right now, bro.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great stuff happening, man. Part of me is definitely very excited about what's happening as, the movement continues to grow. More and more people are finding out about it. It's not such a weird foreign thing anymore. Like, Wado, you've been part of this a long time. When you go to certain churches or talk to certain people on the street, like, about what you do, they just really, what? That exists? What is that? Now, like, it's really becoming something that it has so much more exposure, man. It's reaching a lot more people. So I think that's great, man. And I celebrate, when certain artists, if it's a Lecrae, Andy, if it's D1, if it's, Bizzle, whoever is on the charts, and, because that's just going to open up more doors for more other artists and just for the movement overall. My prayer and my hope is that as it continues to grow, that it doesn't lose its focus and it doesn't lose its mission, and its purity. And I think Christian hip hop, more than any other genre in Christian music, has always had such a focus on the message. And I mean, one good thing about a rap song is you can include so many more words in it versus a singing song. You know what I mean? So it's like you could preach a sermon in those 3.5, 4 minutes versus if it's just a song, the word count is much less. And so you can't get as descriptive. So I think just even the the format of a rap song, a hip hop song, has so much more potential to get deeper on different subjects or, ministry content. I just pray that, we continue to be creative in presenting, a worldview that's Christ-centered. And it doesn't have to have Jesus in every line. I'm not one of those type of dudes because, even at Flavor Fest over the years, we've always included all kinds of artists intentionally from all sides of the map. And sometimes people would beef with us about that from both sides. We've always included every camp. Didn't matter if they were they didn't say a whole lot about Jesus, but they were still, Christian based, or if they, were real theological, or, if they were down south or East Coast or whatever part of the country they were from, whatever style, whatever denomination, whatever theological bent. We really tried to include everybody and create this place where people could come together and collaborate and build and learn from one another.
Yeah, that's good, bro. One of the things that I can say this about you, though, and about Flavor Fest in general, is even though you've always obviously included people from different camps, all different walks of life, I've always felt like this, bro. Like, I've always some of the biggest things that I've learned from Flavor Fest were around the fact of, even though every line may not be about Jesus, people should still know Jesus is the most important thing to you. Where however you feel and what kind of music you make and that kind of thing. And I feel like, honestly, bro, like, to me, that's the message that needs to get pushed more. Like, I think we focus so much about, like, when people have always had these arguments, Christian rapper that's Christian, the reality is, man, can I walk away from the totality of your ministry or the totality of your music career as a Christian and still come away with the fact that, man, Jesus is the most important thing to this person?
That's good. That's good.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Tommy, man, I feel like that's what gets lost sometimes, bro. Like, it's not like, bro, you know this better than anybody because you're a pastor, you're a scholar. Like, man, there's entire books of the Bible where they don't mention God or Jesus. Read the book of Esther, read Song of Solomon. But you don't walk away from those things not thinking, man, Jesus or God in particular was the God, the Father in particular was the orchestrator of all the events in this thing. Even Song of Solomon is a whole different conversation. I don't want to get too on that, but because there's so many different interpretations.
We did a series on it, bro. Earlier in 2015.
Dude, I just taught a lesson on that last Sunday at church. Man. And I was like, yo, like, I was praying, like, Lord, like, I don't want to be a heretic this Sunday. Like,
Song of Solomon, man, it gets pretty explicit and descriptive.
Man, bro. So, but I feel you, man. I feel you, bro. Man, like, I want your thoughts on this, bro. I feel like right now there's almost like 3 or 4 different generations of artists that are still active at one time. You know what I'm saying? And so I just feel like there's just like this weird energy in the community right now because there's so much good music coming out and so many different perspectives being shared, man. And just like, do you kind of understand what I'm saying? I just would love to hear your thoughts on just that part of it, bro.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I was just hanging out on Sunday with KJ5 too.
Okay. And
KJ was actually, he lives here in Florida, a couple hours from Tampa.
Yep.
And he came up because we had a graffiti artist here from Australia, my man Mystery, from the Crosswords crew. And they've come to Flavor Fest several times. So he was visiting and doing some graffiti for us. And KJ's been, doing a lot more painting recently as well, doing graffiti and doing different murals for youth groups and stuff as he travels. And so he wanted to come up and just hang out with Mystery and learn from him because Mystery is like a world-renowned graffiti artist. He's amazing. Next time you come down here, you'll see some of his new work, man. He's super dope. So me and KJ were even talking about that to where he was joking around. He's like, man, I feel like, we're some of the last ones that are left, like from kind of like our generation. He's like, we're the last ones left in the room. He's teasing and stuff. But, and sharing about how it's so unique now because you can have a father listening to hip hop and his son listens to hip hop, but they can be like whatever era you grew up in now, because there were several different eras. You had the 80s, you really even had the 70s, you had the 80s, you had the 90s, you had the 2000s, now you got even beyond that, 2010s, and whatever time frame that somebody was being raised up in, like when you were like maybe in high school or college era, that's when you're kind of really, like that's kind of many times for a lot of people, the music that they're drawn to, the style. So somebody that grew up on 90s hip-hop like me, and probably like you, we call that the golden era, right? And we're like, man, that's when like they had lyricism and it was rugged and the Woo, and, Public Enemy, and yeah, man, you just have all that, like we can refer back to that. But then you got somebody else that grew up, in the 2000s, like, nah, man, I was listening to so and so and this person, and and so and music keeps evolving. The styles keep changing. It's continually, like, hip-hop continues to evolve. So you do have some artists that have been around for a while, and they continue to evolve with the style and with change. KJ's one of those guys that's still around, man. He's been doing it for over 15 years, 16 years as a job, full-time. And that's amazing. Like, you look at, the secular world, you remember LL Cool J. I mean, he had a long run where he was, still stayed relevant. He's not really doing it much anymore. But, there's definitely several different generations out there and different styles. And you could have somebody from different parts of the country that can't even fully relate to a style that's in a different part of the country, with maybe a different age group. So, it's very diverse. But, God can use all of it to reach all those different people groups and generations that are involved in under that umbrella that would be hip-hop.
How do you guys navigate that at the church? Because, and I ask that because it's like you guys use hip-hop so much. I mean, you're not a hip-hop church, but you use hip-hop so much in what it is you guys do. But again, you got these different generations. You got, like, somebody could be 35 and have a 15-year-old, and they both love hip-hop, two different styles. And, like, how do you guys even incorporate that, like, with the worship and the artists you bring and all of that stuff, man?
Yeah, well, because I'm the pastor here, we just strictly do 90s hip-hop. That's it.
I love it.
Nah, man, I'm just kidding, bro. I mean, we have a guest artist that comes in probably, like, almost every week, or at least 3 Sundays out of 4. We have a guest artist that comes, and that's all different styles. And some of it's very current. Some of it might be, different styles of, like, from different parts of the country, because we have people coming from all over. So you have that as one element. During the offering every week, we have a guest artist. And it's usually hip-hop, but sometimes it's R&B or even a different style. But then during worship, our DJ does some of the tracks during worship. Not every single week, because we have a band, too, and kind of flip back and forth. But I mean, a lot of the instrumentals that we'll play is current stuff that's out. It's Christian instrumentals. So we're not playing secular stuff from the radio. It could just bring confusion, in a worship environment inside of a church. We found that. So for instance, we have instrumentals for the latest Lecrae stuff, Andy, a lot of different artists that are popular right now in CHH. We get their instrumentals and we remix worship songs over it. Of course, those have to be songs that have a melody to it that you can sing to.
Right.
And then we'll have a rapper that will maybe do like a 16 on it. But then at the same time, man, we're very eclectic with our worship style. So, we might go from, doing the Lecrae song Messengers, we'll do that. And then the next song is a black gospel song. And then the song after that is a reggae song. And then the song after that is like an R&B ballad, so like we're kind of all over the map. I mean, we even do some EDM stuff, electronic dance music stuff with some of the worship. We do some Spanish stuff. Probably about once a month we'll sing a song in Spanish and English, and we'll go back and forth. So, there's just a lot of influences. When you're talking about urban and multi-ethnic, it's rhythmic.
Yep.
And so even if that's not totally your vibe, you can still vibe with it.
Yep.
And, because we have a very diverse crowd, and they like hip-hop, but they like R&B, and they like gospel, and they like reggae, and, they like a little bit of this and that. And so, we mix in a lot of different, styles and flavors, everything except CCM and country.
Well, man, I'm waiting for that worship record over that cross movement. What?
Hey, our worship team, they're called Remix, actually, and they actually are working on an album that is going to be coming out sometime this year. It'll definitely be out before Flavor Fest 2016, but they've already been in the studio working on some tracks, and it's been a long time coming, and Cliff Brown is producing it, so we're really excited about that. We got a lot of talented singers and artists and, MCs, spoken word, and we'll have some different guests on it from outside of Crossover as well, so be looking for that. It'll be something that I think is going to fill a big gap for a lot of people.
Yes.
Because when it comes to worship, we only have you have your Hillsong, and then you have kind of your gospel. But that kind of in between stuff, the kind of the stuff that we do, there's really just hardly anything out there. So we're really trying to fill that gap and create a new lane. And so pray for us, man, because there's been so many obstacles that have happened with us getting the project finished in the past, and so we're finally really making some progress.
Man, that's good, bro. I'm encouraged by that, bro. I think that'll definitely fill a massive void, bro. Massive void, man. Well, Pastor Tommy, Urban D, man, thank you so much for this, bro. Like, real talk, always enjoy our conversation.
No doubt, man. Thank you for having me, man. It's always good to catch up with you, bro.
Yeah, man. So just a reminder to everybody, you can get the Rebuild album, Rebuild book, and also those free resources are coming in March. Is that
they're coming the end of this month, the end of January.
Okay, all right. So they are coming in a couple weeks.
Yes, and it's all going to be on urband.org. And you can get the book and the album there as well, but you can also get it anywhere else, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Family, and then, of course, the albums everywhere that digital stuff is.
It's good, man. Pastor Tommy, man, appreciate you, bro.
Definitely, man. Thank you for what you do, man.
On the Untitled Radio Show. On the Untitled Radio. On the Untitled Radio Show. Where it's much more than music, it's ministry.